The Silent Arrival. Emerges Empire. The Galactic Council met inside a giant space station orbiting a white star. The hall was bright, filled with tall beings of many races. Some had scales, others had fur, and some looked like moving crystals. They all spoke in calm voices, talking about trade, laws, and border problems. The room felt safe, powerful, and proud. Suddenly, all the lights went dark. The large central screen turned black, and a deep humming sound echoed through the hall. Everyone stopped speaking. Their translators glitched. Panic filled the room for a few seconds, until the emergency systems turned on again. The screen lit up with a single word: incoming. No name, no source, no signal ID. Council leader Verax of the Zarnith race stood up, his voice sharp. "Who dares interrupt our meeting?" A red-skinned officer rushed in from the control room. He was shaking. We picked up a ship entering Council space. It's not one of ours." "It's enormous." "How big?" Verax asked. The officer swallowed hard. "Larger than any ship we've ever seen. 10 times the size of our command dreadnoughts." Silence fell again. The holographic map activated. A red dot slowly moved across the star system. Defense satellites didn't stop it. Patrol fleets went silent after approaching it. One by one, their signals vanished. Panic began to grow. "What race built this ship?" asked High Advisor Sithra, a being of blue energy. "No gnome design," the officer replied. "We're trying to scan it, but its shield tech is beyond us." Another signal popped on screen. A message, simple and terrifying. "We are coming." The words appeared in every language of the galaxy. Council members stood from their seats. Some shouted. Others began calling their homeworlds. A few even tried to leave the room. Only one member remained quiet: Ambassador Talon of Earth. He was the only human left in the council, a political observer, no longer a voting member. He had been silent for many years. Most thought he was only there for show. But now he watched the screen with calm eyes. Verax turned toward him. "Human, is this one of yours?" Talon didn't answer. He stood up, straightened his old Earth-made coat, and looked at the map. The red dot kept moving, slow and steady. "We told you," Talon said quietly. 100 years ago, we warned the council. But you all laughed at us, called us primitive, weak, emotional." Verax's eyes narrowed. "Answer the question." Talon smiled, sadly. "Yes, that is a human ship." Gasps filled the chamber. "But Earth left the council decades ago." Sithra shouted. "You had no fleets, no power." Talon interrupted. "We had no friends, no allies. So we went silent. And in that silence, we built something." The screen zoomed in. The ship was dark in color, almost black, shaped like a spear. It had no visible weapons, but its surface shimmered with strange energy. Around it, small alien ships floated like debris, silent and broken. It didn't fire. It didn't speak. It simply kept moving. "Name of the ship?" Verax asked. Talon looked at him with a steady gaze. "We call it the Vindicator." All council members stared at the massive image. There were no logos, no colors, no signs. Just a long, powerful body flying straight toward them. A silent force. An empire in motion. "We need to stop it," Sithra said. "Send our war fleets. All of them." Talon gave a small shake of his head. "You won't win. This ship is not here to negotiate. It is here to remind you." "Remind us of what?" Verax asked. Talon turned and walked away. "That humanity does not forget." The room went quiet. Outside the council station, stars twinkled as usual. But one red dot continued to grow on the screen, closer and closer. The council, once proud and powerful, now sat frozen, watching their own sky betray them. And far away, inside the command deck of the Vindicator, Captain Aria stood in silence, eyes locked on the distant stars. Her voice was soft, but filled with strength. Let them see what they created. Humanity's long silence. The Vindicator moved slowly through space, but its presence was like a storm. It didn't need speed. Its size and silence were enough to shake the galaxy. Inside the Council station, fear was growing fast. Alien leaders were shouting over each other. The map showed the Vindicator moving past defense zones without a single shot fired. Satellites didn't stop it. Ships didn't report back. One by one, they vanished. High Advisor Sithra screamed, "How did humans do this?" They were nothing. Poor, scattered, emotional beings. This is impossible. Talon, the only human present, stood near the window, watching the stars. His voice was low and calm. "You never listened. You judged us too soon." Council leader Verax turned sharply. "You left the Council. We offered peace." "No," Talon replied. "You offered orders. You gave humans crumbs and laughed when we asked for respect. So we left, and you forgot us." Years of darkness. After leaving the Galactic Council, Earth closed its borders. No communication, no trade, no diplomacy. Many believed humans were finished. But in the shadows, Earth was changing. They united their scattered nations. Wars on Earth ended. Science moved faster than ever. Space colonies grew in silence. And in the heart of the solar system, a massive project began, one that would take decades to complete. The project had one goal: never be weak again. And so, the humans built the Vindicator, a ship not just of metal, but of memory. Every piece of it carried human pain, human pride, and human power. The forgotten morning. 100 years ago, humanity sent its final message to the Galactic Council. "Do not push us. One day, we will return." The Council laughed. Back then, humans had small ships, basic weapons, and no influence. Their voice was ignored. Their pain was unseen. And so they vanished. But Earth never forgot. The stars had always belonged to everyone. But now, humans had come back to take their place, not with words, but with fire. Rising fear. Inside the Council station, new reports arrived. Entire fleets sent to intercept the Vindicator were gone. Not destroyed, just missing. As if space itself erased them. "How is that possible?" one general asked. "What kind of technology can do that?" Talon answered without turning. "Human technology, born from pain, powered by silence." More ships were launched, dozens of them. But when they reached the Vindicator, nothing returned. The Council realized the truth. They were not ready. Not for this ship. Not for this return. Inside the beast, inside the Vindicator, everything was quiet. The ship didn't shake. It didn't make noise. Its walls were smooth, its systems perfect. No wasted space. No weakness. Captain Aria stood at the center, wearing a dark gray suit with a simple Earth emblem on her shoulder. She looked at the stars ahead. Her crew worked silently. They knew their mission. They had trained for this moment all their lives. Aria spoke into the air. "Message to all Council systems. You laughed at our pain. Now you will witness our strength." The message was sent in every language. The words echoed across thousands of ships and planets. Shadows over the stars. Back in the Council hall, the message played. Every leader fell silent. For the first time, they felt powerless. They were used to controlling others, setting rules, giving orders. But now, they faced something they could not understand. The Vindicator wasn't just a ship. It was a symbol, a reminder that silence does not mean surrender. And far above them, that silent shadow kept moving, closer and closer to the Council's homeworld. The power of the Vindicator. The Vindicator entered the outer zone of the Galactic Council's home system. From a distance, it looked like a shadow crawling across the stars. It didn't glow. It didn't flash. It moved with quiet purpose, like a predator that didn't need to roar. Across the system, the Council's strongest war fleets gathered, hundreds of ships, all armed, all ready. They waited in formation like a steel wall, blocking the path forward. One admiral, a lizard-like warrior named General Harkin, stood proudly on the bridge of his flagship. He looked at the human warship and laughed. "One ship, that's all the humans brought. We'll crush it in seconds." He gave the order. All ships opened fire, a storm that didn't break. Thousands of lasers and missiles flew toward the Vindicator. The sky lit up. The stars disappeared behind the wall of weapons. But when the light faded, the ship was still there, untouched, not a single scratch. The Vindicator hadn't even fired back. Inside the Council chambers, silence fell again. Screens showed everything in real time. Their best fleet had done nothing. General Harkin shouted, "Impossible. Fire again." Everything. They fired. Again. And again. But it was like throwing stones at a mountain. Humanity strikes back. Then, the Vindicator moved. Not fast. Not wild. Just one, steady motion. Its front opened, not like a cannon, but like a doorway. A strange pulse spread across space. It wasn't fire. It wasn't heat. It was gravity. Enemy ships began to shake. Their systems failed. Weapons shut down. Engines overheated. And then, without warning, dozens of them vanished. No explosion. No debris. Just gone. Wiped from space. It was a new kind of weapon. Something never seen before. Alien officers screamed across comms. "What is that? What are they using?" No answer came. Only the soft hum of the Vindicator moving forward. Fear replaces pride. Back at the Council Hall, panic turned into dread. They had seen battles. They had won wars. But this was power beyond reason. Talon stood calmly behind the leaders. "You asked what we've done during our silence," he said. "We stopped playing catch-up. We stopped imitating you. We started building what no one else dared to imagine." Sithra's voice shook. What is that weapon?" Talon looked at the screen. "That's not a weapon. That's the result of pain turned into science. That's what happens when a species is pushed too far." Inside the ship, on the Vindicator, everything was silent. No shouting, no panic, just control. Captain Aria stood on the command platform, surrounded by her crew. They weren't celebrating. They weren't smiling. Their faces were calm, focused. They didn't want war, but they were ready for it. "Status?" Aria asked. A young officer replied, "Enemy fleets disabled. 70% vanished. No human casualties." Aria nodded. "Do not destroy what's left. Let them witness." Her voice was soft, but powerful. "We're not here to kill. We're here to teach." The message delivered. The Vindicator paused near the final defense ring, the last shield protecting the Council world. It could fire. It could destroy. But instead, it sent a second message. This is not revenge. This is a warning. Respect is not given. It is earned. The Council leaders sat in silence. Every one of them realized the same truth. They had created this. Their mockery, their pride, their ignorance had built the very ship now standing above them. And it hadn't even tried to destroy them yet. It was waiting for them to understand. Memories of Earth. The Vindicator floated near the Council's homeworld, surrounded by the broken silence of defeated fleets. It had stopped firing. It had stopped moving. But its presence was louder than any weapon. Inside the Council chamber, fear turned into confusion. Why wasn't the human ship attacking? Council leader Verax whispered, "What do they want from us?" Ambassador Talon looked up at the giant screen, where the Vindicator's shadow covered half the planet. "They want you to remember," he said softly, "just like we did. A captain's reflection. Deep inside the Vindicator, Captain Aria stood alone in her private chamber. The room was small and simple. No gold, no decorations, only one item stood out. An old, cracked photograph of Earth, blue skies, green trees, a child holding her mother's hand. That child was Aria. She picked up the photo and stared at it, her eyes full of memory. "I remember when we were laughed at," she whispered. "I remember when the council called us a child race. I remember the day we left, and how my mother cried. The day Earth was pushed away. 100 years ago, Earth stood in front of the Galactic Council, asking for fair treatment. Humans had worked hard. They had joined the stars. They had helped fight wars. But when they asked for equal power, they were denied. The Council told them, 'You are too new, too emotional, too wild.' Humans were given low roles, weak trade deals, no voice in big decisions. Their ideas were stolen. Their ships were copied. Their people were mocked. And when Earth finally protested, the Council responded with threats. So Earth walked away, not in anger, not in war, but in silence. Unity in the shadows. After leaving, humanity changed. They stopped begging for respect. They stopped asking for seats at the table. Instead, they turned inward and united like never before. No more Earth nations, no more politics. One world, one people, one goal. We will never be looked down upon again. They built the Vindicator in a hidden system. It took 70 years, using the best minds, best tools, and pure purpose. Not for attack, not for revenge, but to make sure no one could ever hurt humanity again. The heart of the ship. Aria placed the photo back on her desk and walked to the bridge. Her crew stood ready, silent, calm. She looked at them, people from Earth, Mars, Titan, Europa, and the deep colonies. All of them born after the fall. All of them trained to carry the memory. "Do you know why we're here?" she asked. A young officer nodded. "To remind them, not destroy them." Aria smiled, not with joy, but with pride. "Let's finish the message," she said. One final transmission. Back at the council hall, the screen blinked. A new message appeared. Captain Aria's face filled the screen. Her voice was calm, steady. "We are the children you forgot. We are the voice you silenced. We are the storm you created. We come not to rule, not to conquer, but to show you what silence builds." She paused. "This ship is not our weapon. It is our memory. And we are here to make sure. No other race is ever treated the way you treated us." The message ended. No threats, no demands, just truth. A deep silence. The council members stared at the screen. Some were shaking. Others were crying. Not from fear, but from guilt. They remembered the votes, the jokes, the way they ignored Earth's voice. And now, they realized, humanity had never been weak. They were simply not finished yet. And now that they were, the galaxy would never forget them again. The Council's surrender. The Vindicator floated above the Galactic Council's capital planet like a silent god. It didn't fire. It didn't move. It didn't need to. Its work was already done. Across the system, wreckage drifted, remains of fleets that once protected the Council. But the Vindicator had not destroyed everything. Many ships were left alive, left to witness. Inside the Council's war chamber, the mood had changed. No one was shouting now. No one was arguing. All the pride, all the arrogance, was gone. A leader brought low. Council leader Verax stood, trembling. He had led invasions. He had conquered planets. He had signed peace treaties with blood still on his hands. But now he stared at the image of a single ship, one that had defeated everything he believed was invincible. What do we do?" he asked quietly. No one answered. Even High Advisor Sithra, always full of confidence, had nothing to say. Then Ambassador Talon, the human they had ignored for decades, stepped forward. "You surrender," he said. Verax turned to him, his voice breaking. "To one ship." Talon nodded. "Yes, to the message it carries." The vote. In a private chamber, the council held an emergency vote. The topic: do we submit to the will of humanity? At first, no one raised their hand. Then one claw lifted, then another, then a crystal arm, then a light being. And one by one, they voted yes. Not out of love, not out of fear alone, but because they understood. Humanity had become something the galaxy could no longer control. They had earned their voice with silence, with patience, and now with power. The broadcast. Back in the main hall, the council sent out a galaxy-wide message. "We, the united species of the Galactic Council, recognize the return of humanity. We acknowledge their strength, their suffering, and their sovereignty. We offer peace, not as rulers, but as equals." The message spread across 1,000 worlds, to colonies, to empires, to rebels, to pirates. Everyone heard it. And far above, inside the Vindicator, Captain Area listened in silence. Area's response. On the command deck, the crew waited for Area's decision. Should they strike now? Should they demand more? But Area simply said, "Send one reply." She walked to the center console and spoke slowly. "Peace, accepted." A single phrase, spoken without threats, without anger. Then she added, "But remember this, respect is not a gift. It is earned, and it is defended." The message ended. The retreat that changed everything. The Vindicator turned slowly. Its engines lit up like a dying star, beautiful and terrifying. It didn't attack. It didn't demand. It just left. And in its silence, it left behind something more powerful than weapons. Fear, respect, and a lesson. The galaxy watches. Across space, beings from every species whispered to each other. "Did you hear?" The humans returned. They built a ship that erased fleets. The council bowed. Stories grew. Some were true. Some were even more terrifying. But one thing was clear. The age of ignoring Earth was over. A new era begins. The Vindicator moved through deep space once again. Slow, steady, unstoppable. Behind it, the Galactic Council world grew smaller. No fires burned. No cities were destroyed. No blood was spilled. But everything had changed. The galaxy would never look at humans the same way again. A ship returns, a people rise. Inside the Vindicator, the crew was quiet. Some smiled. Others cried silently. For them, this was not just a mission. It was the end of a long silence, a victory for their parents, their grandparents, all the voices who were once ignored. Captain Area stood at the front window, watching the stars blur as the ship jumped into hyperspace. "Home," she said softly. But the word meant more than Earth. It meant something new. Humanity belonged to the stars now, not in the shadows, but in the light. Back on Earth, news of the Council's surrender spread fast. On Earth, people poured into the streets, watching the sky, cheering, hugging strangers. The old pain was finally healed. Their silence had finally been broken. From Mars to Europa, from Titan to deep space stations, the message was the same. We are not weak anymore. We never were. In classrooms, children learn not just about the Council, but about Earth's journey, not of war, but of self-worth. The message echoes. In a quiet part of the galaxy, a small ship picked up the Council's broadcast. A trader from a desert world sat back in his chair, shaking his head. "Humans did what no one else dared," he muttered. A young alien beside him asked, "What happens now?" The trader looked at the stars. Now the galaxy gets careful with its words. The Council rebuilds. At the Council station, changes began. Seats were shifted, rules rewritten. A new flag was added, Earth's symbol, not lower than others, but side by side. No one complained. They remembered the Vindicator. They remembered how power had arrived without hatred, how silence had returned, not to destroy, but to remind. And deep in their hearts, they knew humanity could have taken everything. But instead, they took respect. The final word. Back aboard the Vindicator, Captain Aria sent one last message, not to the Council, not to governments, but to the people of the galaxy. Her face appeared on screens from one edge of space to the other. Her voice was calm and strong. We do not come to rule. We do not come to conquer. We are humanity. We are many. We are whole. And we have returned, not in anger, but in strength. Then the screen faded to black. No anthem, no threat, just truth. A new era begins. From that day on, no treaty was signed without remembering the Vindicator. No race laughed at newcomers again, and no one forgot what silence could become. A new chapter had started in the galaxy, one where humanity walked forward, not behind. And above all, the stars now whispered one truth. Do not mistake silence for weakness.